Welcome to the Pack, your gateway to the world of Patricia Briggs and the Mercyverse, where shifters, vamps, and fae rule. Magic hums just beneath the surface, and danger is always one heartbeat away. Now, let's run with the Pack. Here are your hosts.
Hi, everybody. My name is Greg, and we are jumping into the Pack Podcast, Episode 2. Welcome back, everybody. It's nice to have you along. Joining us along the ride, our international hosts in Victoria, we have Linda.
Hi, all.
And in London, I was just watching something about Londinium. Do you consider yourself a Londoner or a Londinium?
Londoner.
Londoner.
It has to be Londoner.
All right. Then that's Hasna.
Hello.
Welcome back to the whole group. We have had an incredible amount of interest in this show. I just keep watching the numbers, and it is just incredible. So thanks to everybody. Did that surprise you guys?
Totally. Didn't think we would get this kind of reception. So thank you, everyone who is listening. And we love the support that you've given us.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
I'm in Washington State in the U.S., and as I mentioned, Linda and I are in the same time zone, in Pacific time zone. She's on the other side of the border. And then we have Hasna, who is, it's what, 5 o'clock there?
5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'm having a cuppa right now as well.
All right. So she's having her afternoon cuppa, and we're having our morning cuppa. And you know, you have to. What goes better than a cup of tea and a Patricia Briggs book?
Totally. And good conversation.
And good conversation. Listen, I wanted to talk a little bit about, we had Patty on in the last show, and Patty is such an extraordinary personality. You know, she captivates an audience. And it was so fun to have her on the very first show to talk about her writing style and, you know, the world that she has created.
She's fantastic, yeah.
She really and truly is. But what I want to know from you guys is some of the generalities of what you like about these books. So, Linda, why don't you jump in first, and what do you like about Patty's books?
Well, you know, I think that, you know, when we come down to it, we have to acknowledge that next year is 20 years for Mooncalled. And, like, that's incredible that she has such longevity as an author.
What appealed to me is the characters. They just jump alive from the pages. Mercy was just an amazing character. I love the snark. I love the fact that she outwits in a subtle, sneaky way. It wasn't in your face. It's like, the coyote nature that she is basically, and the humor as well. I just loved it. She just jumps alive. I just remember picking up the book because I just got into urban fantasy, and I saw the blurb. And the cover just like leapt alive, like, oh, this looks really, really interesting. And I just remember reading the first page and just getting sucked in. I was like, wow. I was like totally hooked. And I was like, okay, where's the next book? And I was like, oh God, it's like a whole year because I literally read the book when it was just released. And then I remember just going online, trying to find out when the next book was going to be released, and like saw Mike's post that Bloodbound was the next book, and just got hooked ever since. I just loved how she interacts with other characters, and it was not only with her friends and allies, but also the antagonistic characters like Marsilia, and the resentment between them two, and also the tension that she has with the pack.
Yeah, I think that, you know, like with a lot of people, when I first saw the book, it's like Mooncalled, and it's the cover. For a lot of people, it's a bit controversial. Some people like the cover, some people don't. I love the cover. It's what caught my eye. It's what caused me to pick up the book.
It's iconic.
Yeah, it's iconic. So, yeah.
That cover influenced so many urban fantasy covers. Like, you could tell the moment that book came out, other books with a similar premise had a similar tone and feel to it. It's like the cartoon covers with the romance trend right now, or the like subtle like romantasy covers that you see right now. It started off a trend, but that cover is iconic.
Yeah, that cover and Dan Dos Santos, the artist, needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah, it stood out.
I think that, yeah, but the book itself, like you said, it's kind of like the beginning for me of the urban fantasy journey. So just, I didn't read like a lot of that type before I started reading this. So I think that especially the unique nature of Mercy being a coyote walker when everyone else is a vampire, when you're more used to like the vampire, the werewolf, that kind of
Overpowered. Yeah.
and so it's very different. Yeah, very different power dynamic with compared to the other characters in the books.
You know, I found that really interesting when, and I'm like you, Linda, I hadn't read any urban fantasy up until that point. And I knew that, you know, Patty was local to my area, and I'd seen her at a couple book signings. I hadn't bought any books, though. I didn't know anything about it. So I found it really fascinating that she would choose for Mercy's animal, for you know, her creature, a coyote. You know, it just, I'm sitting here thinking, you know, a coyote, you know, we used to chase coyotes, you know, back in the Midwest, and they would go on coyote hunts and, you know, that kind of thing. And I thought, that's not a real powerful kind of, you know, typically if you're going to write about something, you want to write yourself into being, you know, I want to be the biggest, baddest alpha werewolf I could possibly be, but a coyote?
Yeah. And like the coyote, she's the outsider. And in some ways, she, just like Coyote, her father, she instigates change through chaos. So it's, from her perspective, she feels like she's the outsider and underpowered. They always see her like the pack, Adam's pack always views her like she's fragile and vulnerable. But she's scrappy. She, you know, even if she gets beaten down, she gets up and, you know, is determined to get up. And another thing that I really liked about the book, which a lot of the other urban fantasy series at the time, which had like detectives or magicians or wizards, or she had an everyday job. She was a mechanic. She was struggling with bills, working class. You know, and that was relatable. I really related to that. And you didn't get that from a lot of the urban fantasy books, even fantasy books, because usually like it's from royalty or they had like superpowers. Or she just was just basically a coyote shifter who was the outsider and an annoyance with a lot of the supernatural beings that live around her.
Yeah, I think when we, especially like rereading the book after such a long period of time, because I haven't picked it up for quite a while, and just going through it, you just kind of get that starting point of she's just not knowing anything about the other supernatural factions in the Tri-Cities. I mean, she knows a vampire, she knows a fae, but she doesn't know anything about these characters. She thinks she knows about werewolves because she grew up with werewolves. But in the end, there's so much of that that's hidden from her that is revealed a lot in Mooncalled, as we as a reader are on that journey with her as it's unfolded, which I thought was pretty fascinating. We're not hit like right away with, you know, she knows everything. It's like, you know, she's wrong about a lot of stuff. So yeah. a lot of things that, you know, she learns is new to her and kind of changes her perspective on characters that, you know, she was comfortable with, like Z, like all the information that she learns about him going forward through the end of this book, actually.
There's a lot of nuances that she discovers over the course of Mooncourt, like the tensions within the pack with her being there. That kind of develops throughout the series. Discovering the vampire seeth, where she realizes they're big scary vampires, but when she goes to the seeth and Sam gets caught up with one of the vampires, she is like terrified, because it's just like a scary, ominous place, and she did not realize how scary they are, because her friend Stefan presents a more of a human facade, and then she just sees how inhumane they are and feral and scary. It's like that's when she discovers, oh my God, this is where, like, I have to interact with these people. What am I getting myself into? But I need to save Adam's pack. I need help. And that's when she, like, immerses herself into a more dangerous world, even though before she was on the outskirts. Now she's like in the middle of it.
One of the things that I find fascinating about the books, and I think what pulled me in, was I live in the Tri-Cities and have for the last 35 odd years. And as Patty is writing all about, where they're going, I know where Mercy's garage sort of is. There isn't an actual building. There may be an actual building, but it's not a garage. And I was having a conversation with a fellow one afternoon, and he was saying, "Oh, you know Patty?" And I said, "Yeah, I know Patty. I've read her books." He goes, "Oh, it's my house that is Marcelia's seeth." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, there's an actual house?" So that drew me in. I can drive around town and go, "Oh, yeah, that's where such and such lives," and oh, this is where the cable bridge, the bridge that got destroyed. Oh, is that a spoiler?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're fine.
Patty said that in the very first episode, that she knew that was actually going to happen. So I think that, besides the fact that she has an incredible grasp on, I think you said it, Hasna, the intricacies of the human being, and how Mercy is so snarky sometimes, even in the face of danger, and how many of us don't get that way. We know we're going to get the crap beat out of us, but yet I will stand toe to toe with you and snark until you've beaten me to the floor. That's just the kind of person I am.
It's a defense mechanism as well. It's like, because to show fear in this world, it's to show weakness. And the fact that she grew up at Bran's pack, she has to show that she's fearless and that she's not afraid. And I think, like, Bran kind of like threw her at the deep end. That's the way he kind of like, brings up his kids.
Yeah, I mean, she has no give up, right? She is so stubborn, and she sees things through to the end. And I admire that about her as a character. So it's like, no matter what is put in front of her, she'll try to find a solution and figure it out, but she sticks with it to the end.
I also see her as like a hero. If you look at the series of the books, I'm not going to go into great depth because that's like going into further details, but at the beginning, she basically enters the hero's journey. She's like, not the reluctant hero, but it's someone that I am going to help the vulnerable, defend the weak, so these big bad creatures will not hurt them. And you see this throughout the series in the themes of the book, where she defends humans or the Fae or even vampires, and to her detriment, because she is standing up to what she sees what is right. And she has that, she has that moral fiber, inside, that she can't stand anyone being beaten down or taken advantage of. And I see that in terms where she's more of like becomes like more like a role model, where like even the other beings could see that and they admire that for her.
Yeah, I think in the beginning of basically in Mooncalled, and you see it develop more throughout the series, is that Mercy is the linchpin for all of these supernatural beings in this area. It's like if she wasn't there, these, you know, factions wouldn't get along. They
No,
wouldn't work together.
they'll
So,
implode.
yeah.
The werewolves will implode in some way. The vampires will implode in some way. The Fae, you can see elements of that throughout the series because there's different factions there, and they'll definitely implode. And even there's anti-Fae and anti-supernatural sentiment with the human beings. So that's another factor to factor in. And she just like goes into certain situations where she just enforces all these different factions to kind of like work together, to clash together and implement change. It's chaotic, it's craziness, but at the end of the day, something comes out of it that's positive but also negative.
Do you guys feel that there is a difference in the writing style between the Mercy series and the Alpha and the Omega series? Do you feel like there's a writing style difference
Yes.
there, or okay?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. With the Mercy series, it's in Mercy's point of view, so you're just getting her perspective, and she's not a reliable narrator. She's not, because like the things that she believes in or thinks it's true, turns out it's not. With the Alpha and Omega series, it's in third person, but it's with the alternate point of view between Charles and Anna, and sometimes with the other side characters as well. And you'll get more of a straightforward kind of point of view that makes sense. But even then, it's from their viewpoint as well.
Yeah, I mean, later on in the series, we're getting Adam's point of view.
Yeah.
But for the majority of the Mercy series, like Hasna said, you know, it's Mercy's point of view, but she is an unreliable narrator. So, you know, what she sees isn't always what the reality is. And I think that, you know, you just accept that when you're reading it, when you're going through it.
And another thing I almost forgot to bring up, I love how Patty brings up body language in the books, especially with the werewolves, the vampires, the Fae, like the use of scent, body posture. It comes alive, you know, and those little details tell a lot more than what Mercy's thinking. There's like a particular scene in Mooncalled with her and Bran, where that interaction kind of like has kind of a repercussion in terms of later on, where you go, oh, that's why he did that.
Is that when he's on the chair?
Yeah.
In her hotel room? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. I don't want to go in great details, but it's those little clues are there. Like some people will, some people are blindsided, but it's there. It's there, and it's about it's very subtle, and that is Patty's style. It's subtle. It's there though, and people miss it.
You touch on something else I wanted to bring up in this conversation, is that a lot of writers get in their own way when they're describing things. And Clive Cussler, if you've ever read any of his great adventures with his Dirk Pitt character, Clive would very often get in his own way. He would take pages and pages just to describe what the character, you know, the James Bondy character of Dirk Pitt looked like. And I have to tell you, I just finished listening to Hunting Ground about 3 days ago on my walk. And actually, I think somebody commented on the fact that I hadn't, you know, gotten through all the books. I'm working on it. I'm getting there.
You're nearly there.
Patty,
it's a long series.
It is a long series. Patty got into describing the change that I believe it would have been Charles was changing from human to werewolf. And the description that she put forth was not a long description, but I don't know if either of you have ever seen the movie The Howling from back in 1981. That was like the first time that I got squeamish in a movie with the werewolf change that was done by special effects artist Ron Botten. I get squeamish during that, and I actually thought at one point, that I might be a little on the ill side. So I'm on my morning walk listening to Hunting Ground, and Patty starts in talking about Charles changing, and I swear to you two that I was having the exact same effect on me. She just has this way of encapsulating, that feeling, and I think you're right. She has a way of jumping into the characters, and whether it's, the way that Bran feels about Mercy or whatever the case happens to be, that's a very, very real part of those books, is the feeling and the description that has been put forth.
Yeah, you don't have to go into pages and pages and pages like I can think of certain writers to just describe a tree. It's there. And there's something about, I just love how the pack interaction, especially the first couple of books, it just comes alive, And I read so many paranormal romance, fantasy, urban fantasy books, but it was this series where it feels like it really came alive, and it says a lot more about their body language that communicates information that's not stated in the books. That says a lot more to the reader if they do pick up the subtle clues, because it's there. Because when you reread the books, it's there. And it adds so much to the tapestry of the entire series, because it's like a tapestry. She just plants these little clues throughout the books, and it makes more sense when you reread. And you're like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that's why that's happening, and it's all intertwined to paint a bigger picture.
Yeah, I think when reading it, I think I came into it thinking that it might be a romantic triangle, and I'm glad that it wasn't. I think that in a lot of urban fantasy, that's a big trope, but
it was it was a big requirement.
One, it touched on it, I think, in Mooncalled, that there was a possibility, but reading it, to me, it was never a possibility. It was always Adam and Mercy. It was their interactions. It was how they spoke to each other. It was the history that they had.
They had chemistry.
As she's an adult. Her relationship with Samuel, she was a child, and so there's that nostalgia there. But I never thought that it was ever something that would be reality going forward. That he would be her romantic partner, not like Adam was.
Yeah, but like what Adam said, I think it was in Iron Kist, he goes to Daryl where he's glad that Samuel's there because he's not competing with a memory, he's competing with a live man. And in many ways, Samuel represents the past. And I think she had to shut that off because the way she left Bran's pack, there was no closure there. And there was clues again, right? Even from the first, second, and Iron Kiss, where she made a decision to pick Adam. Was it Mrs. Hannah leaving the drawing of Adam's sketch at her garage? It was so obvious that was a clue, because she picked up on that, and it adds to, I don't know whether ghosts can pick up certain things, like because Mrs. Hannah must have seen her interact with Adam throughout the years to see that, because Samuel must have been there, but she didn't pick that up. So I was like, do you remember the shipping wars on the old Eurog forums between like Team Adam and Team
Yeah, and
Sam?
Team Samuel. Yeah. Yeah, the Hurog forums were a message board that Patty's late husband Mike created on her website, www.patriciabriggs.com, and that ran until just recently, until 2021.
Rest in peace, Eurog forums. Sorry.
A lot of those still at least in like old blogs? Can you still read through some of those?
No, those are offline.
Okay.
We do have access to the old comments and things that people have, but it's not on the public for people to have a look at.
Speaking of comments, I really appreciate all the wonderful comments that people have made in regards to the very first episode that we did. And we would love to hear your comments, love to hear your thoughts on what we're doing here. We're trying really hard not to do spoilers on the show. Sometimes it gets a little difficult, especially with Hasna's passion back there in the back.
Sorry.
I'm all about spoilers.
You're all about, okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right.
me too.
So speaking of spoilers, a couple things. We've seen a lot of news about the upcoming books, a lot of questions about upcoming books. When are the new books going to be out? Can you guys enlighten us just a little bit?
So Patty's writing the next Alpha and Omega novel right now. She's finished a seal book, which is a blind date with a werewolf, and it is out on
21st.
October the 21st. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Alpha and Omega number 7 is has no title to be released yet. So when that is, it'll get posted. No cover yet either, but it's going to be out in 2026.
And no word at this point on where we have another Mercy, probably 27, 28.
Yeah, it's it depends on a couple of factors. So
okay,
but as soon as that information is available, then we'll post it.
Absolutely. We get a lot of comments. I read through a lot of the comments from people in regards to, why isn't there a new book out? Well, I was just having a conversation this morning with my dear wife over a cup of tea, and it was Tetley's at this point.
We're becoming like a tea podcast.
Yeah, and I'm down with that. Get me some tea and I'm good. We were discussing on the fact that the first few books, were just, and this is maybe a topic for another conversation. The first few books, the cast was small, the depth of the playing field was kind of small, and then over the subsequent number of books, the cast got a lot bigger, the playing field got a whole lot bigger, and you've got to consider all that when you're in the process of planning out and writing a brand new book.
Well, and Patty, she's been writing the Mercy Thompson books and the Alpha and Omega books, basically a book a year since 2006.
Yeah.
Some overlap as well, and basically with no break at all. So, we've got to give her some props for that. That's difficult to do, especially the first 6 Mercy books came out 26, 06, 07, 08, 09. Yeah. 09. It's so that's pretty impressive.
Yep, and then she did actually 2 books a year for a while, although she was facing, she could burn out, she couldn't do that. So that's why she's doing one book a year with maybe some short stories along the way.
Right.
I can't get one published, so I have to give her props for that.
It's more than most authors. Some authors are waiting years. Look at George R. R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss. It's like it's rare to have an author that consistently delivers a book a year.
Yeah.
And that's what most authors do,
Yeah.
is a book. Yeah.
Before we get out of here for this time, and we are bumping up against our time frame, I wanted to throw out to you, the listeners, that we would like to have you involved and feel like you're being involved in this. We have just created a brand new Patreon campaign for you to be able to take part in. We have a number of tiers that you can get yourself involved with. I'll quickly run down them here. The $1 a month pup tier is our gratitude and a shout out on the podcast. The $3 a month pack member gets your name on the Wolfpack roll call on the website and the ability to vote on upcoming episode topics. The $5 a month Alpha Pack is participation in an exclusive monthly Discord chat. And the final tier is the $7 a month, the Walker tier, that you get yourself entered into a quarterly drawing for an exclusive and ever-changing Mercy Thompson merch pack. Linda was talking about this with me the other day, and I'm mad because I can't get one.
So this is merch left over from the store that we had, a temporary store when the website store was offline. So it's just extra product that we have. So just a heads up on that.
But we're going to throw it all together into a
nice little package.
Quarterly drawing package, and it'll be an awful lot of fun. Linda was also telling me and teasing me the other day that she maybe has something that we can throw up as an auction at some point in time. That is going to be a big one, a really, really big one. So keep your eyes open. And you know what, guys? This has been a fun 30 minutes. I know there's a little anxiety with us because, you know, we all haven't played in this same sandbox for a long time, but that was a fun discussion.
Yeah.
A little.
It was good. Although I felt like...
Yeah.
That's the way the conversation will roll here. And again, if you jump into one of the Patreon packages, you have the opportunity of voting on, you know, upcoming topics and that kind of thing. We'd love to hear from you too. Be sure and reach out to us through any one of the online outlets that we have, the Spotifys, the YouTubes, the website, any of the social media outlets as well. And would love to have you guys on board. Before I let you go, I have to ask each one of you, are you werewolf? Are you vampire? Are you fae? Are you other? Hasna. Other. Linda.
Other. It's not something I really thought about, to be honest.
And see, I ask everybody I run into, you know, typically it's just, you know, vampire or werewolf, you know, what are you? If you're talking about Mercy's, you've got to have, you know, fae in there and other at this point.
There's a lot of disadvantages being a vampire and a werewolf, so other.
It's true.
I'm not thinking about being a black witch or anything like that, so it's open.
Boy, that's a good thing.
I don't know. It has its advantages.
I always thought of myself as a werewolf, but I asked Patty and Ann here a while back. I said, can I be a werewolf if I'm also a vegan? So I will leave you with that thought this time around. Can you be a werewolf and be a vegan at the same time? Think about that. Linda, Hasna, thank you so much. We will see you again next month, huh?
Take care, all.
Thank you. Bye.
The shadows are stirring, and our time together has drawn to a close, at least for now. But the pack is never far away. When the moon rises again, we'll be here waiting. Thanks for running with the pack. The Pack Podcast is a Grail Productions show. Copyright 2025, Heerog Incorporated. All rights reserved.